Welcome everybody to the IC Topic Chat for today. It is March 2nd. Can you believe it's March 2023 already? It feels like we just turned the new year and it's already March. Of course, I think we say that every March. This topic today is core topic for marketing for our IC Topic Chats. We do this every March. It's a really important topic. It's probably one of the big ones that everybody talks about. You know, there's a lot of anxiety around marketing. And so we repeat it. We talk about it in our conference, pre-conference workshops, and other workshops that we do. This is a picture of the movie Glengarry Glen Ross with Alec Baldwin, and he would say ABC always be closing. Hypothetically, we're not really thinking that way in our work, and I'll get into some of those ideas soon. So again, as I said before I started the recording, and I'll say again, a lot of this is really Laura Keene's work. She's here with us today, so hopefully she'll have a chance to chat after I'm done with the presentation about her thoughts on these things too. This is really a lot of her initial work. I've added my own pieces to it. So I think when we're talking about marketing and sales and getting that new project, this is how a lot of us feel. Or perhaps we might feel like this. The reality is, this is probably the way most sales really do occur. It's a person-to-person process. It's not a matter of like massive one-on-one sales. I'm cold calling people, door-to-door stuff. Though I suppose it could be. I think what we find is, for the most part, our sales and our connection and our marketing process is one that happens in a very relational, human process. I have some notes on this in my other, sorry, I think you can probably see all my slides popping up. Dan Pink wrote a novel that I think is really, really good and we should reference. It's called To Sell Is Human. It's a book that Laura brought to me and I have read and I think is fantastic. In fact, all of Dan Pink's novels are great, but he talks about this in his book, To Sell Is Human, that the reality is we're connecting with people on a human, real basis. Most of us are creating connections that are going to last for more than just the period of the contract. And for me, my contracts are many years long, so 3 to 5 years long. So when I create a relationship with a person, I'm creating a 3 to 5 year contract relationship, and frequently those extend to new contracts that go on. So my sales are very relational because I intend to be involved with these people and their organizations, perhaps even past when they leave. They often retire, and I work with the people who come after them. So these are the ways I create my relationships, and I would venture most of you do as well. Even if you're working on a shorter timeline, you're probably working with people over years of time. And so that's what happens. We have a meeting later today that we initiated this conversation with these folks just through they were in different roles and different positions, and they came to us 8 years after I first met this individual, and they want to put together a contract with us today because of something that I did 8 years ago. And that's what sales are today. And that's what you should be thinking about. When we get together with people, this is a matter of like sharing what we do, who we are, how we go about doing it. But it's a matter of like, how do I support you and what you're trying to do? That's how sales operate. Not that you're going to give me something that is going to benefit me. Sales are always about how we can support another person. How do we meet your bottom line? What is it that you need that I can support? And the creative piece in all of this is understanding how we can support that other organization. What is it that they're trying to do? The people that we're connecting with, what is it they're trying to do for their organization? How do I fit into that? And to the degree that we can be creative and understand those sorts of things, that's how we're going to be able to create successful businesses. When we get together with people, we just talk about what we do. We have relationships, we're natural. In fact, I think I'm somewhat uncomfortable around some people because I just I'm very real. And I think that that's a reality to the way that I operate. I think I set people at ease, and that's the way I think about it, because I'm not polished. In fact, I think being unpolished is kind of a benefit of mine. It sounds crazy, but the people who come off really slick and polished kind of feel inauthentic. But I feel like I try and be extremely authentic in the way that I operate with people. Now, I wrote a newsletter article for the Independent Consulting TIG probably 10 years ago, a long time ago, but this is a slide I just put together today. This is the old idea of the three-legged stool. Now, in the three-legged stool, we've seen this in a lot of different varieties of things. There's effectively one big idea, which is for us, our consulting practice, and it's being supported by three legs. And the three legs for me are the amount of time that you spend on different things. Now, I'm not going to say that our time should be evenly split three ways, but because we need to be doing evaluation work, and that's a majority of what your time. When you create a relationship with somebody, you're going to be working 50 to 80% of your time on your evaluation work. A piece of your time needs to be focused on administration. That's how you do your invoicing. That's tracking your time and these sorts of things. But what we're talking about today is the third leg of the stool, which is marketing and business development. So we need to be thinking about that as well. And when I think about the breakdown of our time in the work that we're doing, evaluation work, that's the client-facing work. Administration is just the things that you do to operate as an employee or operate with your clients, to invoice and set up contracts and things like that. But the marketing and business development, in fact, our professional development fits under this kind of piece in our practice as well. But it's certainly a piece of an area that doesn't just happen because it's a thing that needs to happen. It needs to be a focus of what you do. You need to be intentional about the work that you do. You need to be thinking about it. You need to be tracking it. Oftentimes, people are creating metrics around their marketing and business development. How many proposals have we put out this year? How many were funded? That's the return rate or the hit rate that people have. We had a survey this last fall, but we don't have the data for it yet, or I don't have the data for it yet. So I think it's instructive to think about when we asked people last time that I was involved with the survey in 2015, so about 8 years ago, what is it that works for you? So we asked, we asked people to say, what are the most instructive ways for you to create marketing that you go out about your approach? And this is kind of the rank order here. There are 10 items, and these are the top 5. Actively soliciting new work from past clients. So if you're working with somebody and they like you and you're doing good work for them, it's pretty likely they're going to want to work with you again. And that is, for the most of us, the majority of our work comes from, on top of it being just a great idea. I'd like to know the 7% that didn't think this was a great idea. I wonder about those people. Anyway, actively soliciting referrals from past clients. So that's saying, hey, you like what I'm doing. We've got a great relationship. Who else should I be working with? Case in point, we have a potential to work with a school district in North Dakota. We are working with people, a current school district in North Dakota, and there's another one just similar to them, like that's near a military connected school, near a military base. They're a military connected school district. And so it's obvious that we would be a great candidate to support them. We know a lot about the type of work that they want to do. We know a lot about the funding organization. And so we have a current relationship going on with that other school district in North Dakota. Responding to RFPs. So this is a kind of when we wrote the survey question, we didn't give any definition for what that meant. And let's see. So when we respond to RFPs, it either is a fantastic way to go about getting work, or it can be a lousy way. Let me talk about the two versions of that. When you're talking about responding to RFPs, for me, it's actually a key way we go about our business. Later today, I'm going to be involved with a university that's submitting an STEM proposal. That's a proposal to the National Science Foundation, and they have a requirement to work with an external evaluator. And so they reached out to us and said, would you like us to be the evaluator? And I say, fine. We put together a pro bono kind of a memorandum of understanding that says, we will support your process. We'll write the evaluation plan. When you get funded, we'll get funding as well. That's how I respond to RFPs. The other way that people respond to RFPs, and you've got to be careful, is when maybe a state or an institution puts out a request for proposals from evaluators. And so responding to that, my point of advice to you is be careful that you know that this is a true and open competition. Frequently, and this has happened even to me recently, they know who they want to fund and they don't want to fund you. They just need, as I think Kurt always puts it, they need a winner and 2 losers, and they're looking for losers. They need minimally 3 people to submit. A great way to create marketing and create contacts and connections is through presenting, trainings, and speaking. When I try and go to my clients' conferences. Whenever I'm invited, I go, because I know that if my clients are there, there's a bunch of people who are also there who may not have evaluators or have evaluators who are not showing up, and they can see me and say, oh man, I'd like to work with Matt in Goshen Education Consulting because he's here. And whenever possible, I try and present. Once upon a time, there were these programs called Math and Science Partnerships, and they were funded by the US Department of Education. And I would frequently go to these conferences, and they would ask for presenters, and it was never about evaluation, but I know a lot of evaluators going to show up. A lot of people were going to want to know about evaluation. So I would just rewrite the request for presentations, and I would write it for what I want it to be. And they always accepted it. And so I do that frequently. I try and speak in front of potential clients. And that the last time I did that, I met some people from Iowa who said, why don't we work with the Department of Defense for this one thing that I'd never even heard of. That's become a major part of our work, just because I got out in front of people and talked about program evaluation. Pro bono or volunteer work, particularly if you're early in your career, if you have people you'd like to work with who are unsure of your work, or you're unsure of your work, it's a good opportunity for you to do some work there. I always set it up so that it's time limited. You don't want to get into a situation where people are expecting you to work for them for years or a long period of time without getting paid. And whenever possible, you want to identify for them the costs that they would have been paying, so that they understand that there is value to your work. Now, the next 5 are the least successful ways, but I also want to say there are ways for you to think about your marketing. And so, whereas the worst, so I think these are the least successful marketing approaches. Direct mail. I've tried this, and I tried it after I actually did this because I was curious. So I sent out letters to everybody who is NSF principal investigators in the Missouri and Illinois, which is near me, and I got 0 response. So these are 60% of the people would say these are this was the lower end of the scale. 60% disagreed or strongly disagreed that these were good ways to go about marketing. Networking on LinkedIn. So a lot of people use LinkedIn. You should be using LinkedIn to connect with one another, but in my experience anyway, that's not where my clients hang out. My clients are hanging out in different places. And so I'm not too worried about connecting in LinkedIn with my clients. I suppose maybe this has changed since 2015. I think people are using more LinkedIn and more social networking. Still, it hasn't been an area where I want to spend a lot of time, and I don't feel like I need to. Conferences can be a fantastic place to meet clients. A lot of people think that they may not be a great place, or perhaps they're not using that. Now, I know of situations where I have a colleague who goes to the Grant Professionals Association, GPA, and they have a booth, and their view is, if I get just one contract out of this, the money that I spent, maybe it's $1,000 or some ridiculous amount to be there, was completely worth it. And so my solution to that was, I didn't want to pay for a booth. I went and I proposed to the Grant Professionals Association to do a pre-conference workshop, And I said, I'll do it for free. I'm not going to pay for it. And I said, but why don't you give me a membership and free registration for your conference? So they basically paid me to go and speak and be in front of a group of grant professionals, which was a great marketing opportunity. So that's the creative ways you can go to conferences. But vendor booths can be good if you're very selective about who you're going to be there and you understand the cost benefit analysis. I don't do email marketing or newsletters, though. If you flip this on its upside down, this would be like 49% say it's maybe a good idea, and then referrals from a website or a blog. I don't get very many people to respond to my my own website, but I think it could be a way, particularly if you're new in the game. For me, my relationship with my clients is one where I do more along the lines of actively soliciting new work from past clients and referrals from past clients. So Dan Pink says, always be closing is the original idea, but really we'd be thinking about attunement, buoyancy, and clarity. Are we in tune with our clients? Do we have flexibility around the work? And can we clearly define what we're trying to do with our message to our clients? And is it clear what we can provide to them? I have my own 5 keys to marketing and networking. I'm going to put these out there to you. So this is actually an early series of slides when I was just getting my 5.5 ideas together. But these are the 5 ideas. I'm going to go into a slide for each one of these. First thing is just think about how you can create a relationship with people. How do you find those people? Where are those people that you want to serve? Frequently, we already know them because we've been working with them for years and years. How do we connect with them? We have a social network, whether we know it or not. You have a social network just by showing up today to this session. Who's in this session that you can connect with that may need your assistance? Are you going to go to the subcontractor fair a couple of weeks from now? When I get a chance to do work with people and I don't really know what kind of relationship we have with them, I'll propose to do a pro bono project with them. What can I do for you that's small, time limited, that is easy for me to do, but demonstrates my value to you? So the key example I already gave was I write evaluation plan sections for proposals that are going to go in. Frequently we can do this in a couple hours. And it could lead to a 5-year contract that's worth $15,000 or $20,000 a year. So it's definitely worth my time to invest in that. And that's what I demonstrate with my staff in the session that I'm going to have later today with the university. That's exactly what we're doing. Second idea, really related to this social network. How do we go about networking karma? Networking karma is my term that I've borrowed from a couple different places. How do we connect with people where the social arbitrage is this idea where we make ourselves invaluable to others? How do we become invaluable to our clients or potential clients? Can we do it through local community evaluation associations, through other local groups that we can connect with, where we can get involved with them and we can become a leader, we can become the secretary of this organization, and then they realize how awesome we are. And now they need us and they're talking to us all the time and they realize, oh, I can use you for a program evaluation. That's social arbitrage. And the other thing is don't keep score. So these are ideas from Keith Ferrazzi in his book, Never Eat Alone. He believes in giving freely of himself without any expectation that things come back to you. So I give an entire session on networking karma. I'm not going to go into all the ideas here, but the big idea is we exist in this community that's a social network. When we can make ourselves kind of a center hub in the middle of that social network, we can give freely of ourselves and have people rely on us, then the opportunities for our own work will continue to come without any understanding for really where they're going to come from. And that's exactly what's happening to me now. All right, so next idea is think about where the problems lie. How can you solve those problems? You just kind of almost have to have almost a meditative state in thinking about this when you're going about your work. When you hear about opportunities, how can you fill that need? What is it that you can do that's special, that is in alignment with your own values that you can do? I love the movie Robots with Rodney Copperbottom here on the right side. he says, see a need, fill a need. And that's the whole storyline of that whole movie, which I've watched at least 100 times with my children when they were much younger. I don't think they would sit through that movie now, but I probably would. Anyway, see a need, fill a need. The big idea here is what's happening out there that you can do to support somebody else's need to do whatever it is that they're trying to do. How do you provide that program evaluation? Program evaluation is beautiful for problem finding. The reality is evaluation is storytelling, right? If we're thinking about evaluation the way it really should be, we're helping our clients tell their stories. Maybe it's not always the story that they want, but frequently it is. And we're just better at telling that story because we can do it through data, through qualitative and quantitative analysis. And they can use our beautiful charts and our data visual approaches to tell their story to their funders, to their boards, to their evaluation partners, people who are they're serving, their other stakeholders. So how do we go about doing that? At a certain point, we need to give ourselves permission to chase the big dream. Try and be involved with your clients in those formative stages when they're developing their evaluation plans. Number one reason for all of that is you can help set your budget. The worst problem is when somebody comes to you long after they get their contract and they're like, hey, we got this project, we need an evaluator. Can you do it for $5,000? And you're like, no. But then you find yourself making something work, and then you end up spending a lot more than $5,000 of your time doing that project. So be present in the formative stages. I mean, really the main reason is so that you can help design something that's going to be valuable to them. But also, you know, the hidden idea is you can actually help them with, set a budget that's going to be reasonable for you. You're going to find yourself with being insane, and you need to give yourself permission to be insane in a limited capacity. So there's going to be things that come along where, you know, the big grant writing season is here, and you need to be present for everybody, and you need to go ahead and just give into that urge to be a little bit crazy. Now, we all have families, we all have responsibilities, we all need to have some amount of, we should all have a lot of balance in our life, but you do need to allow yourself to be insane from time to time and just go a little bit nuts. And so lean into that. Obviously, you shouldn't surprise your family or your spouse in those ways. You need to be present for all the things that need to happen, but sometimes you need to work all night long. You need to work all night long. It's going to happen. It's really a part of the process of developing your practice. Fifth, really, you need to be active. To the extent you can go see your clients, be engaged with them directly, meet them for coffee. I know one of our colleagues who's here today goes on frequent coffee meetings. And I can tell you that I put this in here before I knew about that. But meeting for coffee, I used to go and meet with an existing client anytime she had meetings with her teachers. And what would invariably happen is during lunch, we'd sit there and we'd just start talking about the new projects we could put together. That never would have happened over a Zoom call, I can tell you right now. I just went and showed up. I enjoyed being around the teachers. It was a way for me to do some additional qualitative data collection. And then one thing would lead to another. It always happened. And then the buoyancy here. This is that buoyancy conversation around from always be closing. When things go wrong, you need to get back up again. You can't let this break you down and destroy you. This is part of the process. You're going to put your best effort out there. You're going to have the proposal that should be funded. You're going to have the client that should realize you're the best opportunity for them, and they're going to go in a different direction. It's not going to come to you. It's just part of the game. It's difficult sometimes. You need to kind of grow a thick skin towards these ideas. Finally, classic for me, I do the 5.5. You must be present to win. What I'm trying to say here is you need to connect with people. You need to show up to the opportunities. You need to create opportunities for yourself. Being present means you must be present with your clients whenever possible. You need to continue to connect with them. We don't necessarily need to have this huge, for me, I don't have a huge population of people that I connect with, maybe more than I used to. But I send Christmas cards. We send Christmas cookies. I try and engage with people. I was just in Washington, D.C. last week for a meeting with the Department of Defense. I grabbed a bunch of coffee cups and I went a mile and a half down the street to connect with some grant writers that always connect me with projects. And I gave them a bunch of coffee cups and they gave me one of theirs. So we had a coffee cup exchange. That's McAllister and Quinn. They're a grant writing art organization based in Washington, D.C. And finally, as with all things marketing and independent consulting, I have to thank Laura Keene. Thank you for that, Laura. Laura and I will actually be doing a workshop series that we're going to start next month. So if anybody's interested in a more intensive version of all of this, I'd love to have that conversation. So I'm going to stop sharing now and let's go back into our conversation.